LinkedIn Live. I hope you enjoyed my 9 a.m. Mountain Time. We've got our 11 a.m. and I can't tell you how thrilled I am to have Trevor with me today. I just met about a week and a half ago, and fireworks have taken place. I've had 4 different connections who I did LinkedIn Lives with that I met just 7 days ago, and Tara Gooch was the individual I did my LinkedIn Live today, which I do every week. But to talk about today is really to bring you inside what we're talking about every day together and bring you up to date and include you. And what I want to advocate is use chat. We're very, very good with spotlighting anybody who wants to participate and share your messages with our audience. So with that, Trevor, why don't you give a little bit of insight into who you are and what you are?
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So I got to know you via the Hotness Unleasher show, right? Which is a live show that I've been running now for a couple of months, at least like 3 months now. Gee whiz, we're on episode 12, which is going live today at 5 p.m. Pacific time. So, and it's the Down Under edition, right? We're bringing in, we're doing it today. Usually we do it on Saturday, but we're doing it today because I have got friends that are in Australia and New Zealand, right? Adam Mandarovic, Georgia Watson, and David Ketchum. But they were sound asleep during the regular event. So it's like, hey, man, we're gonna take this show to them and allow them to be included and to celebrate their experiences here. So, and that's how I met you, right? I mean, I met you because you were, brought on by Tara as a Hotness Unleasher, and I'm like, who's this Don guy? I gotta get to know him. And right, we both like hats, right? I mean, we both like live, right? We're both wear glasses. I mean, there are some challenges with managing lighting and glasses and on all of that stuff, right? So, like, hey, I'm all about the live because as we were talking about previous. It's now. Like this is like this morning, right? It is 10:03 a.m. I missed an appointment with Ed Powers this morning, and I just got to say, I'm very sorry, Ed. I feel terrible about that. My brain was somewhere else. I got too many calendars competing, and that sucks, right? So please accept that my apology for missing that appointment. I would really like to talk to you and have and reschedule that later. So yeah, man. I mean, here we are, right? This is that actually happened. That sucks. And then we got this other thing coming up, later this afternoon, and it's all happening right now.
Yeah, and I think that's what people yearn for, especially with COVID and the insulation and the isolation and the separation and the upheaval of Starbucks and Paneras and trade shows and conferences. That now people have been transported to a new land, LinkedIn land, and now there's a new suburb called LinkedIn Live.
Indeed.
And people can save steps. What I've learned, because my background is in business, I worked for someone when I was 15, did a great job, never had another job. I built 2 companies from scratch that generated over 200 million in sales. And I was a major player with Walmart.com and Amazon. So with that said, after retiring, I said, I'm at the top of my game. I'm still relevant. And here's LinkedIn. And the beauty of LinkedIn is I was always promoting products that you can commoditize. LinkedIn is about people. And it is so segmented, fragmented, that with some aggregation and the ability to get proficient, to get good enough not to be bad, is all you really need to do to get going, right? And with LinkedIn Live, I would even skip the whole posting, commenting, liking. It's so time consuming. It's like Pony Express. And I think what Trevor said is so astute, is if you're doing podcast or video production, it takes forever. And people know you could have edited it and you didn't. LinkedIn Live takes as long as you're live. I have no preparation. I try to think, what I do? I just turn the switch and that's where my mind is at the time I'm talking. And that's how I can do this every day. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the thing that comes into my brain now is like, as you're talking about this, right? Because my temptation is to say, well, you know what? We could podcastify right? Or we could rechannel or channelize or put some. We could text. We could take the live and put it into text and make a post out of it. Like I'm always kind of recycle, repurpose, reuse, whatever. But guess what? If you're live all the time, why bother, right? Because if I tune into Don Cohen's live, I'm going to be up to date with you, right? I'm going to be up to date with you in that moment, right? So yesterday, right, I sat in on your live with Lisa, right? Lisa Edmondson. It was delightful, right? I asked a few questions, I engaged in the chat, it was all good, got highlighted a couple times, and I felt like, okay, yeah, this is fun. This is where Don and Lisa are at this moment. Do I need to go back and read 50 posts and spend 6 hours in podcast? No, I don't. I can just be right here, right now and talk to you guys. So yeah, all about it.
Well, that's why it's so much more, because what I do believe, it's only been around a short time as far as accessible to a lot of people. Hardly anybody's used it, and the ones who have used it haven't used it consistently with a plan. So it's rarefied air. Now I look back at history, and the beauty of being old school is some things never change and other things change by the second. And relationship building and adoption of new trends. The difference is, in the past, you could see change coming up the hill and you could prepare for it. Like when Home Depot opened in Atlanta, it was just a matter of time till they went to Miami, and then you could see it coming, but it was physical and it had to move by store count. So when you look at LinkedIn Live, I'm looking at how many slots can you get for free. I was around when URLs became available that day, right?
Okay.
If you put home.com, you could get it for, I don't know, a couple bucks.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, and everybody poo-pooed it. And meanwhile, some people are billionaires because of it. I look at LinkedIn Live and I look back at old TV when people had, if NBC said, I'll give you 20 slots for free, say whatever you want, whenever you want, with whoever you want. How many do you want? Right? Yeah. And if my LinkedIn Lives that take, when I do them myself, about 8 minutes, because that's all I want of me. When I'm with somebody else and go 40 minutes, whatever it takes.
Right. You get tired of your own message. I hear that.
And they get tired of it. So, and plus I'm coming back soon.
Yeah.
So you don't have to squish it all in, and people know you respect their time and that you're interested in helping them. And eventually you separate from the bad players who are selling, scamming, tricking, versus, hey, there is no screen here. There is no mask. There's nothing opaque. What you see is what there is. And when you see it is when it is. And to learn something I did a year ago, it is probably not even what I'm thinking today or what I would do today, even if a year ago I knew what changed, is really bringing people together. And the other thing is getting more people together to do more things in less time, because that was the essence of what I was just saying, is to do 8 minutes and get 100 people to watch you almost automatically. I mean, I always visualize, if you're walking down a hallway and someone says, hey, there's an auditorium, 100 people are waiting to hear something you got to say for 8 minutes. Could you spare 8 minutes?
Be like, yeah, absolutely. Totally.
That's right. And it's so simple. Yeah. And the more you do, the more exposure you get. And you're going against a lot for a few. So Trevor, this LinkedIn thing has so much nuance to it and so many different layers. And being in sales for as long as you have been, I mean, this is like a godsend compared to what it used to be.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah. And I my ideas around how to use live, I think are a little different than yours. And I'm learning from you, right? I'm seeing your example here at play. But when I came to it, I was like, I sort of had a different idea, right? The idea was, it evolved, right? It evolved into the Hotness Unleasher show as it will be this afternoon. But it started out as 3 friends just hanging out, right? 3 friends just hanging out. And why not, if it's going to be a V coffee, why don't we just expose that? Why don't we? And that's what we're doing basically right here, right? Just collaborate, just talking, just a couple of guys, hanging out. Talking about things that are interesting to us. And so but as that evolved, though, the thing that I am excited about, like really
Mhm.
jazzed about, is the notion of a show, right? That it isn't me, and that's not to say that the model of just showing up and sharing every day and having an audience isn't also valid, because I think they are. But it's also, I love the notion of just a show, right? Like you could
Mhm.
show up and the show has structure, right? People can anticipate what's coming, and you can promote that as an event, and you can say, here it is, it's going to be an hour, and it's nothing, and in the end it isn't any different than any other show that we would watch on network TV, right? I mean, it becomes, hopefully, like it becomes that kind of, and maybe it's not produced, it doesn't have the advertisers, it doesn't have the, I don't know, whatever else goes along with a show, right? That Hollywood puts together, but it's the same idea, right? It's the same, like, you watch Saturday Night Live, or you watch David Letterman, or you watch, I don't know, Friends, anything, any kind of show, and kind of, okay, it's gonna be 21 minutes or 40 minutes or whatever, and it's gonna have a plot, and it's gonna have an arc, and it's gonna have a conclusion and a fulfilling outcome and all that. Why not? Why not do that? And so for me, that's kind of the direction that I'm really excited about going. So, the Hotness Unleasher show, I'm gonna wrap it at Thanksgiving, right? So we're just gonna end right there, and because I don't know, it feels like for the most part, the people that are in that community have really responded, right? I've either had them as guests, or they've been called out as Hotness Unleashers, right? So I don't want to say that it's over, but I just feel like, like any kind of season, like you just, like in any other show, right? You just
Mhm.
say, okay, well, let's start a new theme, right? So next quarter, Q1, I have another plan to do something a little sort of similar, but with a different twist. And I'm excited about that, right? And this is new energy, and a new community, and a new kind of focus. And so I have no intention of abandoning live, like,
Mhm.
ever. Why would I do that? And because it's just a hoot. I mean, really, truly, to get to know people, right? Get to know and bring in multiple guests at one time, right? So there's this whole energy that goes into really in authentically engaging with them in preparation for the show. Right? So that's super fun, right?
Mhm.
And kind of bringing them into the vision of how it's supposed to flow, right? That's cool. And then mic checks and all that, like preparation, and making sure that they get it, and yeah. So all those kinds of other phases that I didn't ever anticipate
Mhm.
have really clarified.
Well, to that point, it's all about time, production value, and anticipation. I look at this more like a mix of reality TV, just like if someone had cameras up in someone's house, right?
Yeah.
And they followed you around. If you had 2, 3, 4 LinkedIn lives every day, they would see 2, 3, 4 different yous. But what's so cool is they would see you with someone else. Right now, we're kind of doing a co-coaching or co-knowledge sharing session publicly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
even thinking, why not just skip the Zoom, go right to LinkedIn Live? Hey, like to get to know you. Would you like to be on my show?
Yeah. Well, that's what we
Right?
did. That's what we did. Right. This is us
That's
doing
right.
that.
Versus let's have a Zoom because, okay, now we're talking, but all the stuff we're talking about will not be a benefit to anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Because now that we're meeting, that's how we're introducing ourselves. Why not introduce yourself to everybody who is in a position to introduce themselves at the same time? And you show people how you react to other people. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
safe example. Again, it's like take a view of you being in that position. But more importantly, do you have a voice?
Mm-hmm.
If you
Mm-hmm.
don't have a voice, it doesn't matter if you're posting, making videos, it's not going to work. If you're
Yeah.
not honest and authentic, you're never going to build enough trust to have anything long term of value.
I hear
So the
that.
key is why not get real as fast as you can? And everybody should, there's a saying, if you got a big enough why, you figure out the how to.
Mm-hmm.
right?
You know, I like you use the word safe.
Mm-hmm.
I want to expand on that a little bit because I think it's an important one. That is, you know, we grow, right? We grow really fast sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
particularly here in this environment. I don't know somebody, you know, I had the sales call the other day. It was just awful. It's a wretched call, terrible job. And her point to me was like, look, I don't know you, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't inherently trust you. And I
Mm-hmm.
come show up with this crazy mustache, right? I mean, I don't blame her, right? She doesn't know me.
Mm-hmm.
She just and I said, well, you know, we don't really work with your vertical, and so just like boom, boom, it was awful. And so that's the reality we're in. We're in this digital world, right? But now if I say, look, hey, guess what? I want to get to know you a little bit. Let's go live, right? Let's just do that. And now I say, like, hey, we're not in a digital container, right? Where a private digital container where maybe it goes off rails. Maybe I'm a
Mm-hmm. You're
weirdo,
right.
right? Maybe
It keeps everybody honest.
I say something crazy, right? And or a predator, or creeper, you know, all that stuff. But because that happens, that really happens.
Oh, believe it.
And if we say, hey, let's just go live, so it's all good, you know.
Yeah. Well, the thing is if you're professional, if you're focused on LinkedIn centric, there's nothing you should be saying that you wouldn't want everybody to hear because you're trying to promote yourself. Now, here's the key. It's better to be yourself, especially with someone else, because it complements and contrasts with you, makes it more interesting, gives everybody a chance to take a break when they're burned out a little bit or the other person's on a hot roll. I mean, what you want to do is present a program that lends itself to they say there's only three things you can accomplish on LinkedIn. You can inspire, you can educate, or you can entertain, or a mixture of those three. If you don't leave somebody with some knowledge, some entertainment, or some inspiration, you haven't affected them to justify them coming back and doing it again. The idea is always to overserve, always to oversample, right? Because you want people to qualify themselves out by getting a preview of you. In the old way of connecting, hey, we just met, let's get to know each other. This way, no, you've seen me and you can see me every day, and you can go to my profile and see my last 6 months of me for as long as you want to watch me, to get to know me, to say, I know who this person is, I'm aligned. Or, hey, this is like night and day, I'm out of here, which is great, because what I find in the old way, and I've been posting every day for 3 years. I used to tag 120 people every day, and I would blow the thing up. And if you didn't respond in 48 hours, you didn't get tagged. So it wasn't like just going out and getting people with network.
How did you keep track of that? I mean, how did you manage that tagging energy? Because I mean, I'll sit down and I'll do. I'm gonna just tag, you know, and like, so tag farming, that's hard, right? That's hard to do, right? And it's sort of not that awesome. And then you can tag in comments, but I forget. I can't always remember the people. So I'm very curious about that.
I always kind of copy from successful operations. So if you've been to McDonald's, and it's the lettuce, tomato, pickles, and onion story, right?
Yeah.
And because of that inspiration, education, and whatever, the third one, right? Entertainment. I said, well, I'll give 5 of each in every post. So I came up with 5 sayings every day about a subject like success, right?
Okay.
Then I came up with 5 tips on LinkedIn. And then I came up with 5 people, my 5 special connections, right? I had stacks of them. I had 300 people who were ready to be tagged. I could only do 120. I was looking for people not to tag that want to be tagged. If I took them out, they would ask me, did they do something wrong? Because just by being in that group, they were getting 300 great connections a month without doing a thing. It was just coming to them, right? Not only that, but the algorithm, when you tag 120 people and in 10 minutes, 100 people comment, and it goes way out there, all of a sudden LinkedIn opens up the floodgates because, hey, something's happening, it's relevant, and it's going beyond the taggable people, right? I was getting 70,000 views. 120 people can't give you that.
Right.
But here's the rub. So you say, why just stop? I could do it tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
I got so much work, so much response that was unfiltered. It's like pulling a net, and like 10% of the things are good fish, and other 90 you got to sort out of here. So then I decided when LinkedIn Live came along, hey, I can just skip that whole mob scene, do my thing, and let it grow organically.
Okay.
Right? And that's what I did. I decided I'm going to do it every day. And when you first think I'm going to do something every day, it's like, how the hell are you going to do a LinkedIn Live every day? And here's how you get past the plateau, the breakthrough.
Yeah, lay it on me.
Yeah. It's you look at it as if, like I mentioned, I'm walking by my desktop and someone says, hey, for 8 minutes, you can talk to 100 people about something that they could really benefit from and you'd enjoy talking about. I got it. So I decided, hey, I'm going to do it every day because you get better when you do something every day. You know, you get into the rhythm, right? And you got to flow. And then what happens? You meet people like Trevor, you meet people like Tara, and now you have a show. And now it's 2 personalities, right? And now they've got their traffic. I mean, Tara's got 28,000 followers. I've got 37,000. You know, there's only like 600 that are the same. And we're in the same area doing the same thing. So what happens when we talk on LinkedIn Live, mine goes to 60,000, hers goes to 60,000. It posts on both of ours. If you had 4 people who really then pre-promoted LinkedIn Live, brought more people on more often, got them confident, and pretty soon you're guesting on their shows. And after a while, you're everywhere. And
well, you say that because now it's working for me, right? I have substantially fewer followers than you or Tara, but here I am on your show, right? And I was invited to talk to Michael Peterson just the other day, and I was talking to Chris Decker just the other before that. That never happened, right?
That's right.
Those conversations never happened before I actually stood up one day and said, Stephen Ng, Julie Morey, let's go live. Let's do this. Let's just try it. Let's see what happens, right? And now here we are, right? 3 months later, having fun, talking about stuff, having new ideas and sharing like these observations, and now I'm having all kinds of ideas like, okay, what do we do next? Right? What do I do for the next, after Thanksgiving, because there is a rhythm to promoting that show and a commitment to it and making the most of it, but I'm gonna take a break, and all that. It does beg though the question about alternative forms of content, right? Because I still, as much as I love live, and I do love live, right? And do you have bandwidth to create other kinds of content now, or are you just, this is it?
Well, this is it because that's all I need.
Okay.
Right? I mean, if you use ketchup occasionally, you don't have to keep buying big bottles and storing them. So you can always, I'm getting to the point where demand is not an issue.
Okay.
It's what do I want to do? And do I want to do anything more than what I'm doing? Because it's growing, it's expanding. Like I say, there's no rush to harvest. When it's growing really nice and you love what you're doing and it's getting better because the people who are coming together with you. And here's the thing. It's a whole different dynamic. In the past, you connect with somebody, let's have a call or a Zoom, right? And at that point, it's like, okay, let's get to know each other. But everybody's thinking, what does he want? Or who is that person? Is it worth my time? I got so much going on, because they always go in with the legacy before they understand the future. So when I see the LinkedIn Live, now they're doing it for them, right? They're not doing it for the other person. It's like, I'm going to get exposure. Don's 100 people who watch his show are going to see me
I
right
like
off.
that. That is a really key observation, right? You take that Zoom, that V coffee, and that which is about maybe serving me or evaluating you or evaluating our relationship or finding some common ground. No, all of a sudden, hey, let's go live. Let's do a live. Come on, let's do it. It's great.
Well,
We're gonna
especially
get
if someone
exposure.
never had a live or thought it was
Yeah.
a big deal,
Yeah.
all of a sudden you become the first person to introduce them.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, when
Mhm.
you invite somebody, it's an honor. I
Yeah.
know people that I've met and have great connections, but to have a Zoom call with them would just be like, it's been a year, let's say hello. And maybe
Yeah.
they do it, but then they'd say, well, we probably won't say hello for another year then if this is what it is.
Yeah.
But if you
Makes
tell
sense.
me you got a great audience, that you're
Mhm.
killing it on LinkedIn Live, and I don't have any exposure, and you want to invite me on your show, that tells you two things. I'm honored. Thank you for thinking about me. Or we've already hit our ceiling towards interaction. Take me off your list. Because
Mhm.
that's, if they don't want to do that, then there's nothing
Right.
beyond that. And there's
Right.
nothing underneath that that's worth it. And really, there's a saying is some will, some won't. So what? You
Mhm.
know, it turns out to be a sorting operation because people are ready at their own time and position. All you can do, they say, is be known before you're needed, right? So when people need you, and to your point, you can't sell anybody anything they don't already accept that they need before you sell it to them,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You got to
Yeah. And
open the
that's
car
only
to
getting
fill it
worse
up.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's only becoming more true. Right.
But
Not
if
less.
you become a magnet, if all you
Mhm.
do is communicate, project, and you get good at it because you do it so often. And here's the other thing. If someone said to me, what's the 10 secrets of success of LinkedIn? Whatever they are. Tomorrow, if you ask me a question, it should be the same answer. I shouldn't have
Mhm.
another 10 and another 10, right?
Mhm.
So your information, your knowledge is so great. How you apply it, how you interpret it, how you perceive it, how you build context around it. And ultimately, people come for what you offer, but they stay for you because they like the support. That they like someone to tell them, hey, you're okay. It's going to be okay. I've been through it. Here's where you are. And they're facing not only the game is between them and themselves, but they got a lot of dream stealers around them, right? They got spouses and relatives and friends saying, hey, you used to make real money. Now you're screwing around on LinkedIn. How much did you make this week? How much did you,
Mhm.
and you ask yourself that question too. So it's
Mhm.
not totally foreign or out of place, but at a certain point, you get tired of having to deal with it,
I hear
right? You
that.
have to say
Yeah.
it's just not worth it.
Mhm.
Now, here's the problem. Where do you go to? You know, my question, if this isn't it, what is? If now isn't the time, when is it? And if I'm or the person you need to know, you're not able to engage because of lack of trust, fear, that's when you need to help the most. And that's where you should get involved with groups. And you know, one thing about LinkedIn Live, it's a talking out. I don't know what I'm saying until everybody hears it too.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's
I like it.
no
Yeah. Yeah.
audition,
I
there's no
like it.
script, whatever pops, I hear it at the same time and I go with it. But the thing is, if you can do what you want to do and be successful, wouldn't it be great if you were happy along the ride?
Wouldn't
Instead
it
of
be?
saying I'm trading off, I'm accommodating, I'm
Mhm.
sacrificing, because then you
Mhm.
feel like you're giving so much up and nothing's happening, and it's one
Mhm.
more bullying technique. And you
Yeah.
ask yourself, you know, I keep watching the same movie expecting a different ending. Why not make your own ending or just say, this proves what I was doing got me to here?
Yeah. I like this idea of fun too. I mean, so and to get back to my question about the different content forms, right?
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. We're just talking. So the um I had so other content forms for me, right, are still fun. Um so for example, I was at Costco and I took a picture of my cart. All right. I couldn't have done a live around. I mean, I could have come home and all that, but it was a moment, right? It was in a moment of like, hey, here's my cart. And guess what? When I go to Costco, I shop in reverse. I shop against the flow, and I have reasons for that. And I talked about that. I posted about it, right? And I made a connection between creating my own experience at Costco, and because it was better for me, right? And Costco not having a clue, Costco doing everything in its power to 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 upset that, right? Or not make that easy. I have to fight through the, through the checkout, all the people lined up, for a mile at the checkout. I have to go through all the snacks and the beef jerky and all that stuff in order to start with the, personal care. And then you go through the box and so on. And that was a super fun post because I was able to, like, here's my real life. Here's my real story. Here's something I'm actually doing. And then, and it totally related to some of the challenges that I see my clients facing right now in trying to sell their software. Right? That they're not, that I don't want to say they're not, but just to highlight and really bring into to real, like, personal, relatable terms, that people, humans, their customers are going to create what it is they want one way or the other. Right. And that we have this idea that we can move them through a funnel, or we can, that our solution has all the, is going to solve everything. And guess what? Clients are going to continue to teach us, and we have to kind of be open, to that. And so, like, this evolution of live, right? So for you, hey, that's all you need. That's all you want. That's where the fun is for you. And so I think for me, it's like, okay, well, guess what? I like this idea of like a real show, and I promote the show, and I love that promotional kind of piece of it. And then I love just to throw stuff out there. And, so I'm actually also having this idea of using a post as a personal diary. Right. So I have, I'm of a certain age now where I don't get to not exercise. Okay. I have to do that. And because I want a long life. And so now this idea, like, oh, guess what? I create a post. I hooked it to my featured. It's the second featured post, and it's a diary of me engaging in exercise. Right. It's for my benefit. Anybody wants to see it, they can go and look and say, oh, well, okay, great. But guess what? It's me being in public. It's me saying, hey, it's accountable to a certain thing. So I haven't seen anybody doing that really, right? Using a post as a personal diary where they spam their own post, if you will, right? Over and over and over and over again. So we'll see how that goes. I feel sorry for Mike Phillips and Michael Peterson, who I tagged originally in that, because they're probably still going to get notifications till the end of time. But maybe I'll take them out, those poor guys. But I think that there are opportunities then to, at least for me, to continue to use different content types, right? And different content delivery methods. But it does take, to your point, intentionality to make sure that those posts don't get lost, right? Because they do. They, like you said, they just gone. You post it, and you cannot find it ever, right? And so live, I'm like, this is so fun because guess what? This is like, here I am, here you are. We're reflecting on what the reality is right now, right? And and how are we going to be here? How are we going to not just do business, but be, right?
Yeah, no, those are fundamental, valid points that everybody should take into consideration. And the key is time. And here's what people have to realize: if they get super lucky and all of a sudden the floodgates open with business, do they have the time to handle the business and do what they're doing on LinkedIn? So what I've done is, when I started out, it was all planting and cultivating, very little harvesting, and on and on and on. And then at a certain point, you need to go to harvest, and you need to limit the time you do cultivating and planting, because now you're building with what you were able to harvest. So what I look at is, would it be better if I spent 15 minutes or 30 minutes, or let's say 30 minutes on LinkedIn Live every day versus 2.5 hours to upgrade, optimize, plan, strategize it, be more strategic? And would that really project that well? And at the end of the day, if I do 20 minutes a day for 6 months straight, every day, 7 days a week, that's 560 minutes a month. That's 3,000 minutes, over 6 months. You know how much quality information is in there if someone wanted to reprocess it, it's enormous. You could make whole classes out of something if you were able to edit it properly. But here's the point. All it matters is where you are today. The beauty of LinkedIn and LinkedIn Live especially is everybody's equal. It comes down to what's your thought today. It's not how old you are. It's how relevant your insight is, your thought. If you got a mountain to climb, the question is not will you need a guide? The question is when do you engage one? And then who do you engage with? And then how do you engage? And if you keep it simple, so many people convolute, complicate, they get lost in their puzzle, right? If my whole mission is to take somebody only from posting to doing LinkedIn Live, that's plenty. I'm taking what's there and moving it for people who can't. When I was doing 25 million a year with Walmart, selling stuff they couldn't sell or wouldn't sell, right?
Yeah.
At a certain point, I became a gnat on an elephant's ass, right? they had to deal with it because I was too small to make course corrections. When I made my biggest progress, I'd go to some of the biggest manufacturers in the country and say, what's your biggest problem? I've got Walmart. I've got Amazon. I can solve it, right? I've got that. And I became an interchange and ultimately selling 800,000 products a day on both websites. Wow. And having to keep stock ins and outs and having to do price changes on the fly and quantities in and out. It was enormous. So the point is when you get with a giant and you ride the whale, all you got to do is find a little bitty niche that isn't being filled by them. Because here's what happens. When you help LinkedIn, they help you. When you go against LinkedIn, you get hurt, right? So follow the rules, don't automate. But if you're getting relevant audiences, if you're bringing great value, if things are building, they're going to keep opening up your visibility because their goal is more people spending more time interacting on LinkedIn.
Now, do you think, okay, so this is something, a question. So LinkedIn makes a ton of money by selling job ads, right? Or job listings and all that, the recruiting component. And, to be honest, I mean, I'm a human, right? I'm sensitive to this. I've been fired. I've been laid off, right? I get that. And I want to support job seekers, but it isn't my main thing, right? And so I see certain creators who are like, really, that's their deal, right? They are about that. And they have just massively engaged audiences, right? So if that's what do you think about that, right? Do you think that LinkedIn is really just going to continue to push the job seeker support thing, or do you think that there are opportunities for other kinds of topical content creation?
Well, I mean, whenever you have 810 million, you're going to have sections. Right. And so there's a whole section of people hire and people looking for work. And that's really not my group. Unless they want to know how to use LinkedIn better or LinkedIn Live to get their voice out there.
Yeah.
And, LinkedIn has moved from, where it was, which was primarily a job placement opportunity to a sales placement. And you can see how that's gotten overrun. And everybody is selling everything. I mean, the one disappointing thing, as soon as you connect with somebody, you got a 3-paragraph sales pitch.
Well, yeah,
Right?
and that's been pilloried a lot lately, at least in the communities that I'm in. So yeah, although I do want to expand on that. I came up. God, did I mention this yesterday? Yeah, I've been talking about it recently, and it's the notion of a post slap. All right, and post slaps are this idea that okay, let's connect. Great, love it. Oh yeah, you didn't DM me with your pitch, but let's say you're a week whatever, and then you're posting your content, and guess what, your content is all about your course, it's all about your offer,
Mm-hmm.
it's all about this thing that you're selling. I'm like, okay, I get that, right? You got a business and you need to talk about it, but at the same time, I want to know about the more about the problem, right, that you solve, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to know more about the experience of solving that problem, right? I want to know more about like the who you are working with to solve that problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to know less about how much money I can pay you so you can solve the problem for me, right? And I think that is a thing that I'm seeing now, right? And so Lisa and I and a few others, we're talking about this yesterday in a DM chat about how do you do that, right? How do
Mm-hmm.
you be a seller of, and we all are in the end to some degree, right? How do you represent your stuff and not just kind of drive everybody away? Because
Yeah.
I'm interested in your story, Don. Like these stories about Walmart and 800,000 units and Amazon and okay, that's awesome. I love that. Right? It tells me about like your experience and about your. It builds my sort of my trust, and I'm intrigued by how did that happen? How did you get into that place? But I'm less interested right now in knowing like, okay, well, DonCohenConsulting.com has a program that's
Well, yeah,
umpteen thousands a month and blah blah blah. Okay, fine. That's good, but maybe we get there, at some point. But I don't need you to post to me about it every single time, right? Your lives don't need to be about that. I'll ask that question, right? I will absolutely ask that question the better I get to know you, and become more and more and more intrigued by that experience that you had, and particularly if it aligns with things that I want to do,
mm-hmm.
and and so I see that as kind of as a trend that's up where people are trying to figure that out, right? How do I?
Well, if you have a lot of time and a lot of opportunities, you don't have to squish something into a one-off,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you're meeting somebody for lunch, when it's over, right?
Yeah,
If you didn't
yeah,
do something or get something, it's done. LinkedIn, it's like a bank deposit. You keep adding goodwill, and a lot of people get a lot of goodwill, and hopefully you never have to ask it back, right? You just give it out and say, boy, I'm just glad I was able to provide, because in return, I've gotten more than I needed from everything. And I'd rather leave the log pile higher and I found it anyways,
mm-hmm. Makes
right?
sense.
I'd rather
Yeah,
be the guy that says, hey, I did 80%. And you know what? It took me no more time than if I'd done 50%, but we got it done. And it's if you can't do it, could we? The other thing is money goes out the window when value shows up, because no one's going to cut their nose to spite their face. If I give you a $20 bill for $10, pretty soon you're going to be saying, how do I get you a $100 bill for 50? Right? Because it's
yeah,
just human nature. It's like, hey, it's
yeah,
like an ATM. I keep
right.
paying.
Mm-hmm.
So now, do I trust them? I don't have any reason not to trust them. And
Mm-hmm.
the point is I only want to do business with people that I can customize our relationship for both of us.
Makes
I
sense.
don't,
Yeah.
I do everything month to month because I don't want to be into anything beyond something I'm not happy with at the time. So no one gets hooked, no one overextends, no one overreaches. And you know what? If I can't bring value, I don't want money. If I can't make money with and for people, I'm not making money off of people, because first of all, it's too hard. There's not enough of it when you do it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's your reputation.
Indeed.
Right? Sold me
Yeah.
a bill of goods. They were real slick, got me in, and then boom, like everything else. But here's the point. When, to your point, you go against the tide and you say to yourself, I couldn't believe that person did so much and was so happy to take and ask what they did. Right? Like if a plumber came and did a huge job, so just give me $20. You know?
Yeah.
You'll be like, hey, this guy, I mean, he's probably starving to death, but I love this guy versus the guy that says 400 and blah, blah, blah. And that's the thing. You know, I kind of look at when you say about doing, I like better, but there's something a little grunge to it. You know, if you're a little, you're more interesting, and more importantly, you're more relatable and associatable. People who don't want to put their makeup every day enjoy seeing someone who doesn't put their makeup. Right? No one likes to be distanced. And, you know, I always found meet people where they're at, not where you think they should be or where you want them to be. You know, it was kind of funny. One of my best LinkedIn lives ever. My grandkids sleep over usually on Saturday nights.
Okay.
And they know I do this thing every day. So on Sunday mornings, everybody's got to vacate or keep quiet. But then I learned that the best language to communicate with on LinkedIn is a 10-year-old level. If you can keep your words to a 10-year-old, then everybody will
understand you.
Will be okay, and it won't be like, what are they trying to be, a big shot, you know, with those big words or the concept. So I said, hey, Leo, why don't you be my guest?
Okay.
Think about it. And he's on, you know, he's on Instagram and all this other stuff already. They're very socially capable. That was one of my best shows. It had, and it was all about a 10-year-old really being a 10-year-old and sharing what they thought about LinkedIn. And hey, you should, my grandpa's a really great guy, and you know, you should support him. And I just love him and everything else. And anyways, we get off, and the numbers just keep going nuts.
Oh, that's true.
So, and he loves it. He said, I can't believe that people watched it. Not only that, everybody's like commenting and blah, blah, blah. So I said, Leo, he said, I'll come back. I said, okay, we'll start to make you a regular guest. And you know what we could do? He just got a puppy. Bring the puppy on. Bring Stanley. Next to kids, puppies are the greatest. You know, we'll double our audience with that. So it just shows you how you can apply something. And more importantly, when you're with somebody, you can say, hey, what is it you're stumbling on? What is it that you're stuck with? Hey, let's go in with a LinkedIn Live and explore it and ask for help.
Well, why not? Right? Yeah.
If you ask people for help, they're honored.
They are. I totally agree. And I think when you call that out, and then you're grateful for it too, right? There's so much sort of these beneficent cycles, right, that just happen. And I one of my favorite things is love begets itself. Right? There's no scarcity of it, because the more you give, the bigger it goes, and it just it's explosive. And I think hate, as a it dies, right? It doesn't have life. It just it can kind of it just gets pushed away. It just, because nobody wants to be part of that. It doesn't build. And so it's so much fun to hear like let's get together, let's dream big. Let's bring people in. Let's ask for help. Let's not just live in our own silos and try to invent everything ourselves and let good stuff proliferate. I'm all 100% about it. It's terrific.
In this day and age where there is so much hate, there is so much fear and unsafety, the individuals who bring the opposite get even better attention, and it's rarer. And those are the people want to protect and preserve with them, because it's shelter from the storm. Because once you get your 7, 8, 10 people, it's like you've got your own lifeboat now.
Well, it happened last night. There was a thing that happened last night, and it was so great because I did have to take a stand. All right, I did, and I couldn't let it go. And I went out to my people and I said, hey, people, I took a stand, right? I need you to have my back, right? Just in case this gets weird. And guess what? I just got a flood of like the lifeboat was there. They showed up and we were together, right? And there was fearless, just a sense of fearlessness and a sense of compassion and a sense of just that sort of that idea that, hey, we're together, right? We're gonna do this thing together, and united, we're gonna be good. And we were, and it was fine. And that thing has passed, and we move on. But yeah, to your point, like let's conjoin on all of this, positivity. Yeah.
Everybody's better together if they're aligned. And the key is to show a lot more respect than people are accustomed to. Most people, they don't get a thank you or a welcome or anything during their day. No one tells them, hey, your work was great, or I just love this. And when that happens, that really changes your viewpoint, right? Because you're appreciated, you're valued. Yeah. There's someone who needs you, someone who enjoyed something, and it makes you want to do it. If you're a cook and everybody doesn't eat your food, how long are you going to keep cooking, right?
Welcome to parenthood. Yeah,
pick it up the way you left it, and that's what you want. You got to start where you are with who you are, and then build on it. Don't, they say, don't wait to be ready because you'll never be ready.
I hear it. Yep.
And that's the key and don't think, just do. Phil Knight was so smart with Nike when he came up with just do it. Those 3 words are like the answer to like 99% of people's issues, because it's like they've never tested, or at one time it didn't work and they thought forever it would never work. But here's the other key thing that is so cool and adds value and redemption is there's so many people who are where they are for no reason of their own, right? They ended up in a profession by potluck. They knew somebody, someone offered them a job, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden they're in this industry for 20 years. But there was a true essence to them that they always wanted to be something and do something. Well, LinkedIn and LinkedIn Live is a new land, new culture, new language. You can be the person today you always wanted to be and leave the past behind, and then build with new people who don't know you, right? Who you have no guilt or obligation or responsibility to.
Yeah, I have no reason to put you in a box, right?
Yeah, and try it, because it doesn't matter when you get there. It only matters that you get there. Right? If you're unsafe and you can journey through to safety, once you're safe, the other stuff just was history. It was fearful when it happened. But here's the other thing. I've been in some great deals with some mediocre people and never worked out. And I've been in some mediocre deals with great people, always worked out. And it was the people coming together, making it happen for everybody around them to keep people in the game. Right? And eventually they got stronger, and success is an attitude. That's all it is. Once you acquire that success attitude, that no matter what happened, there was a saying, confidence is when you can go from failure to failure without losing any enthusiasm. Because
that's a good one.
Feedback, right?
I've never heard that one before. I've been saying with regard to failures, it's there's no failure, there's only data.
Yeah. Right. So you learn, there's no outcomes. There's only continuums.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing ends. It moves forward the next day. And too many people, if this doesn't happen, who are they talking? Who are they scaring? Right. If it doesn't happen by Tuesday, I'm out of here.
Right.
It's yeah, good. So now Wednesday, what are you working with?
What are you going to do then? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's the part of the group. And the nice thing is what we're doing today allows even spectators and pedestrians to have a really good view without having to have any exposure or risk involved. And at the same time, someone should be able to say, if Don and Trevor can do this, I could do this. I could do this. I could talk in front of people.
Those two jokers.
Whatever. You could do it. If this is what you think you want to do. But if you don't want to do this and you're on LinkedIn, what are you going to go to? I've been to where you are. I've been successful, and it got me nowhere. Right? Got me popular. It got me busy. It got me experience. I think there's something to going through the grind. But coming out the other end, if I was working for somebody, and ask yourself that, and you wrote down all the time you spent that day on LinkedIn and what you did and what you got and submitted it, what would you get paid for it? Right?
Yeah.
And at a certain point, if you're not working as hard for somebody, working as hard for yourself as somebody else, you shouldn't be working for yourself. And the freedom and working remotely and having access to everything without anybody telling you what you can do, when you can do it, how you can do it, and make you dependent on their pay to keep you doing it. I would be working 16-hour days, you know.
Are you working 16-hour days now?
No,
Okay.
but I mean, I'm already kind of where I want to be. But the point is to stave off going back to corporate, or to stave off fighting people for jobs that you don't even want, but you'll take. I would put that time and say, okay, like you said, let's have a plan every day. Even if you worked 8 to 5 and took some breaks, no one's put 9 hours straight. We're inviting 50 people a day, because here's what it is. There is opportunity for lead generation everywhere. Where I found the number one place that I never looked before was who's viewing my profile.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because first of all, they had to know there was something about me they wanted to know more about, either a referral, an article, or something I did. And it's fresh, right? So I can go really quickly. Hey, Trevor, I just saw you reviewed my profile. I visited yours. Hey, you'd be a great guest on a LinkedIn Live of mine.
Yeah, let's hang out, right?
Don't have to get to the Zoom. I don't care if you connect with me or not. It's not that important. What I am inclined to figure out is, what's your motivation?
Why did you come by?
Yeah, was it just passive and not very serious, or was you were very interested in something, but you didn't know how to turn the page? You didn't invite me to your LinkedIn Live, or you didn't offer something. And the problem with offering something is then it sounds salesy.
Yeah.
Hey, we just connected. Here's a PDF. Here's a this. Here's me. Like you said, no one cares about you. And the sooner you figure that out, that you need to start caring about them, and then maybe they'll care about you.
That's interesting you say that. And I have to go on to other things here in a minute, but love him or hate him, and I don't know why anybody would, but hate him. But I think Justin Welsh is so great, and he's got so much. He shares so much stuff. But it was, to your point, Don, the notion that we assign homework to people when we meet them, right? I hate that. It isn't even a pitch slap. It's like, hey, we just met. Go see my post. We just met. Here's a PDF. We just met. Here's. Would you comment on this? We just met. Would you, whatever, right? And I think that your idea here, like, hey, we just met. You want to be on my live show? I'll highlight you, right? This is what I'm going to do for you, right? I think there's a lot there, man. I mean, I think there's a lot there.
That's what makes the compression so valuable between how you had to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Because the best you can hope for is a call. And then people thought, I'll give you a treat. And then we'll have a call. Or worse, here's the treat, read it in anticipation of the call.
Yeah.
So get ready for me to finish you off at that point. Okay. But you see, that's where I think the beauty of us talking today and talking in the future is the faster you can merge and compress everything into a really nice tight package, and then work on projection. There's two parts, content and audience. If you work on one without the other, they don't work. Right?
Yeah.
When you put them together, and you can expand and continue to expand and have a strategy, because if we had 4 people on this call, it would be going to four feeds, 4 more audiences, right? And you could actually, and that's what I did with the tagging, but I know you got to run. Hey, this has been great. Let's plan on catching up somewhere. And seeing how we can keep moving forward together.
Yeah. And come on by the Hotness Unleashed show tonight, man. I mean, that's happening. We're going to be doing that toward the end of the day today. And
how do I know when it is and when it is?
It is at 5 p.m. Pacific time. It will be off of my LinkedIn profile. So / Trevor JVW, right? And it'll be about an hour, and it'll be easy to find. I mean, I got the post up and all of that stuff. I mean, it's really great.
Okay, I'll just go to your profile and I'll see it.
You will see it at 5 o'clock Pacific time. So, which is 1 o'clock Auckland, New Zealand time tomorrow. So,
okay,
yeah.
In different places at the same time. Well,
you
anyway,
bet.
I want to thank Trevor. I want to thank everybody who tuned in. Please share if you thought it had value and other people can benefit from it. And look forward to our next LinkedIn Lives together. Thanks,
Cool, man.
Trevor.
Thanks.
Have
Thanks
a
for having me.